A kid werewolf? Boring. A werewolf that gets bitten by a vampire? Alex was pretty sure that had been done before. His final idea of the night had been a story about a detective searching for a missing werewolf. He was going to call it Werewolf. At that point, Alex had known it was time to go to bed. But what happened after that? "I read for a little while," he said, picturing himself propped up against a pillow with his battered copy of Something Wicked This Way Comes. Will and Jim had just met Mr. Dark. It was Alex's fourth time reading Ray Bradbury's famous novel about a dark carnival. He barely remembered his first journey through the book, a fever dream that had ended only when he turned the last page and noticed that night had become day. His subsequent readings had been slower as he tried to decipher how Mr. Bradbury had made his words dance and sing. No matter how many times Alex reread passages or copied them by hand, however, their power remained a magician's secret far beyond his ability to comprehend. "I underlined a phrase I liked," Alex said. "Yet here he stood, moon calm, inhabiting his itchweed suit." Speaking the words out loud filled him with wonder at their beauty, but also a kind of despair. No matter how many stories he wrote, he'd never be that good. "Then I put the book on my bedside table and went to sleep." Was he dreaming? It didn't seem possible. Alex took a deep breath and felt his lungs expand, then rubbed cool blades of grass between his fingertips. This was real. It had to be. On the other hand, why wasn't he cold? It was late spring, and while the days were finally beginning to warm up, the nights refused to relinquish their chilly hold. Yet here he was in jeans and a t-shirt, totally comfortable. There was also, he now noticed, no breeze at all. The wind was as dead as the corpses underfoot. Still, Alex struggled to believe this was all a dream. Maybe it was just an unusually mild night. It was the moon that finally convinced him. Not only was it bigger and lower than usual, but there was something oddly flat about its appearance. It reminded Alex of certain old horror movies where even the outdoor scenes had been filmed indoors and the sky was nothing but a painted backdrop. "That's not the real moon," he thought. "This is a dream." Alex felt a little better. Nothing could hurt you in a dream. This was just his crazy imagination at work, and at some point he'd wake up. Now, more curious than afraid, he decided to learn as much as possible about the graveyard. The first question that popped into his mind was an obvious one. Who was buried here? By the light of the false moon, he examined the nearest gravestone. There was no name, no dates, no epitaph. Instead, a wire cage, like something you might use to house a small animal, had been engraved into the stone. "Maybe this is a pet cemetery," Alex said. He moved on to the next tombstone, expecting to see an engraving of a leash or maybe some paw prints. It was a picnic basket. "Huh," said Alex, totally bewildered now. A cage made sense, sort of, but a picnic basket? What was going on here? Alex's confusion only grew as he continued his investigation. In no time at all, he had found an engraving of a mailbox, a stethoscope, an old-fashioned key, a necklace, and a cave. The engravings were strange, but also maddeningly familiar. "What kind of graveyard is this?" Alex asked, tracing the swirls of a giant lollipop with his finger. Since there was no name or date, did the lollipop somehow relate to the person buried there?